Hey guys, so today we're going to meet my herd of horses, past and present. These are all the horses that I have owned before, and we're going to start with the current two that I have. First up, we have Callie, and Callie is my Welsh Cob mare who I got at about 5 years old. She's about 14 now, and she is my most versatile horse that I've probably ever owned. She's pretty level headed. She's a little sassy. She's got a pony personality. When I first tried her, she was this fluffy little dark sooty colored lazy thing. So sweet, very green, but she just had such a good mind that I knew that she was gonna do good things. So we worked a lot on our dressage for the first couple of years, which I like to do with all of my young horses, and really worked on developing her muscles in the right ways. She did gain a little weight. As you can see, she's pretty chunky here, but she did develop a really good top line. She still did have that pony personality that would come out every once in a while, but for the most part, she was willing to do anything that I faced her with, from jumpers to hunter paces and hunts to combined training. She was just always pretty willing. You just kind of had to ask her, not tell her. Um, she could be a little bit lazy picking up her feet. So she kind of maxed out at about 2.6. Where you can see here, we did a lot of clinics to really work on her jump. But during combined training shows, especially, she would get tired. You know, she's lost the weight at this point, but she's still a lazy horse. So about 2.6 is her max before she starts knocking poles down, but she really doesn't have a refusal in her. She will try whatever you put in front of her, which I really appreciated having a lot of refusers back in the day. So her favorite thing of all time would definitely be hunter paces, which is my favorite thing to do with her. She is just really brave and likes to lead the group and jumps everything out there, really willing to try new things, pretty laid back. She's just the most comfortable horse to be on out in those situations, and I wouldn't want to be with anybody else out there. So my next horse is Patience, and Patience is very special to me. I've been riding her for about 10 years now. She was owned by somebody named Beth, who bought her at about 10 years old, and she's about 20 now. Beth sadly passed away unexpectedly and did leave Patience to me and my mom. So it's been a weird transition, going from riding her to owning her and having lost her owner. But we're really, really grateful to have her. She's just like a once in a lifetime horse, which I'm probably going to say about a lot of these horses. And this is footage from when she first came to the farm, and I was kind of seeing what she could do, and the camera is totally out of focus. Her name was actually Pixie, and she was being used in a school program, and she was a really nice horse for being used in a school program. So when Beth purchased her, she named her Patience. I've never changed her name. And again, we did a lot of dressage work with her to build up her top line. She was kind of ridden in a martingale and, hung on by a lot of kids, but she really is patient. So Patience is a good name for her. She's not mare-like at all, which is nice. You put a jump in front of her and she just goes. She just loves jumping. And I haven't ridden very many horses that would probably jump a course if you let them free in the arena. And very talented. You can see she's got a really nice flying lead change when she wants to. I actually didn't compete her very much. I just did a few hunter shows with her and a few dressage shows, but now that she's 20, she's just mostly used for lessoning, pleasure, And she is kind of my go-to trail horse at the farm. I can get on her bareback and use a halter and ride her around the farm. I just really trust her. She's just such a sweet horse. And next up, we have Shadow. Shadow was a really cool horse that we only had for about 6 years. Got her at age 10, and she sadly passed away at 16. She was a Morgan Thoroughbred cross, another short horse. I'm a pretty short person, so we have a lot of short horses. Shadow came to us completely terrified of absolutely everything. Somebody walking by while you were riding her would spook her. We tried to make her jump because she was such a good jumper, but most of the time it ended up like this. And after we did a lot of work with her, you can see I have her in a bitless bridle here. Had a couple of kids on her. Really worked hard on getting the spook out of her, which never really got out of her, but she got better. She became a really good jumper, and we actually did a lot of competitions together. She just required quite a bit of schooling beforehand and really, really a gentle hand. You couldn't get frustrated with her at all. She was just such a scared little mare. And then we actually took her to regionals. This is us competing, and she did so good. I was so proud because we were not allowed to school these jumps before, of course. This was a rated show, and she did such a good job. That was kind of like the best year for us. And then she also was my tackless horse, which I can't believe that she got this far after coming to us so spooky. I did a lot of tackless demonstrations on her, and she was just the ultimate bareback horse. Next up, we have Breeze. Now, Breeze was my first horse purchase after I had my childhood pony for years. So she was like my first competition horse. And she was sold to me as an eventer, and she was about 6 years old. And I had her for about 4 years until I realized that we weren't exactly the best pair. But we did have a pretty good 4 years together. She was definitely marish, for sure. Ugh, my riding's terrible here, don't judge. I was just coming off of my pony, and she was quite big for me, and I was quite awful. But she was pretty patient with me and helped me move up kind of into an intermediate level. Ugh, my jumping's just so bad there. So I did a lot of dressage work with her again, like I do with most of them, especially because I wanted to be eventing her. And she did pretty well at that. She was pretty willing with anything I put her through, really. But after a while, she kind of had this attitude that came out mainly around jumping. So she was fine with like 18 inches, 2 foot, and anything beyond that, she would get an attitude with me. And I know that her conformation wasn't perfect and she had thin soles. So I decided I probably shouldn't push her any further than that. So here's her doing cross country. Like I said, she was pretty willing about everything. But I really just wanted to do more than she could do. So I ended up selling her to somebody who was just going to do flat work with her. You can see these situations that started happening more and more frequently. I did do a lot of showing with her within those 4 years, though, and I did learn a lot from her. I also put a lot of kids on her, and she was always pretty good with them. She was a good like lesson horse for a little while, but she really just wanted to be retired, which is basically what she's doing now. So she is living her best life right now. And then we have Hope. I don't have much footage from Hope because I only owned her for about a year. I bought her after we already had Shadow because I wanted another Shadow that was less spooky. This was before we got Shadow really into her prime. So I found Hope, who seemed really calm, green, but just she just seemed like she would be a good fit. But unfortunately, she had something about her where she could just snap. And of course, I don't have any footage of that. I just have footage of her being an angel because this was her sale footage. So I still am a little sad when I talk about her because I feel like I let her down. Like, I only gave her a chance for a year and I fell off and got hurt a lot on her. So at the point where the farrier would no longer do her, the vet didn't want to see her, and the handlers at the barn would no longer handle her because she would break away from them and just be so unpredictable. I decided I couldn't keep her anymore. So I sent her to a sale barn. But she was a fun little horse when she was behaving herself. And next we have Arian. Arian was the horse that started it all. He was my mom's first horse. She got him when he was about 6. I was about 4, and I'd started taking lessons on lead line ponies, and she had only been riding a year, so we really didn't know what we were doing with him. But he was a cool guy. My mom always loved dressage, so he was kind of her dressage horse, and he was really good at it. He was sweet. And like I said, we really didn't know what we were doing, so I mean, we put kids on him, husbands, family, and he would just like run off with everybody because he was young and green. You can see back in the days when nobody was wearing helmets at our farm. But once my mom finally learned to ride him, they became good partners. But he was never a beginner horse, for sure. And he definitely didn't like jumping. You could try all day, and he was just not interested. And he was really strong, too. He had a really thick Morgan neck. So if he wanted to do something, he could just go. But he was really good for arena riding. And of course, dressage and bareback. This is me as I got older. I was finally able to ride him when I was a teenager and he was a little older. And he was my dressage competition horse for a couple of years. And then finally, we have my very first pony, Sunshine. I got Sunshine when I was about 10 years old, and she was about 13. She had a lot of lameness issues, so when she was sound, she was awesome, but she was lame a lot. She is still to this day the most bomb-proof horse I've ever ridden. She never spooked in all the years that I had her, and I had her a long time. I actually never sold her. I kept her until she passed away. She was the cutest Barbie horse, and she had the most beautiful eyes. Everyone always complimented her eyes. This is me riding her, and I am really terrible. I don't know why I was so bad having ridden so long. I definitely wasn't a natural, but she was a saint pony. She just carried me around as long as she had the proper bit in because she could be a little strong, a little sassy, but she was just so safe. She taught a lot of people kids and adults, because she was a large pony, how to ride. She was just the perfect first pony, and like saddle club style. Like I could ride her with my friends all day and not have any worries. She would take care of me. Again, so terrible. Our favorite thing to do was trail rides and cross country because, like I said, she was so bomb proof, nothing ever fazed her. She would always lead the trails, and I could just drop the reins and she would take me back home if I ever got lost, which I did. God bless my instructors. Good God. I don't know what I'm doing to this poor horse. She's such a good girl. So this is later. Fortunately, I got better at riding, and I didn't really grow much between 10 years old and being a teenager. And in high school, I did an equestrian team, so I got a lot better riding. But Sunshine was getting older by then, so I still would just do lessons every once in a while with her and maybe a cross country run here or there. But I wasn't really competing her in high school anymore, so I let little kids ride her. And she took a lot of kids to their very first shows, and she did very well. Well, that is all of my herd, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below.